Hello everyone and welcome back to Codechef. In this video, we are going to explore the different types of inheritance in Java. Inheritance is one of the most important concepts in OOPS because it helps us reuse code and build relationships between classes. Today we will cover various topics such as single inheritance, multi-level inheritance and hierarchical inheritance, and why Java does not support multi-level inheritance with classes. And as always, the best way to learn programming is by actually writing the code, so make sure you practice alongside this video using the online Codechef compiler. You'll find the link in the description below. So let's get started. Type of inheritance in Java: single, multi-level and hierarchical. So let's get into a quick intro to inheritance types. Java supports the following types of inheritance: single inheritance, multi-level inheritance, hierarchical inheritance, and multiple inheritance. An important thing to remember is Java does not allow multiple inheritance using classes because it can create confusion and ambiguity in the program. Now let's understand each type one by one. Single inheritance. What is single inheritance? Single inheritance is the simplest and the most common type of inheritance. In this type, one class inherits from only one parent class. The structure is parent class to child class. Think of it like a child inheriting traits from one parent. The child class gets all the accessible properties and methods of the parent. It can also add to its own properties and methods. So here in this example, we demonstrate how single inheritance allows a subclass to inherit properties and methods from a superclass. We define a base class shape that contains a common property color and a method display color to display it. Then we extend this class to the circle class, which adds its own property radius and a method called calculate area to calculate the display area of the circle. Now let's look into the code. So here we have shape. This defines the parent class named shape. Then we have string color, a variable that stores the color of the shape. This property will be inherited by child classes. Then we have public shape of string color. This dot color is color. This is the constructor of the shape class, and it receives the color value and assigns it to the variable. Then we have public void system out print the shape of color is. Here this method prints the color of the shape. We have circle, which is inheriting from the shape class using the extends keyword. Then we have double radius is a property specific to the circle. And then we have public circle string color and the double radius. This is the constructor of the circle class. Then we have super color. This calls the constructor of the parent class. This initializes the color variable inside the shape class. And we have this.radius. This assigns the radius value to the circle. Then we have method that calculates the area of the circle. So this will calculate the area. And double area is equal to math pi into radius. This is the circle area formula, and it will print out the area of the circle, which is calculated area. Now we have our main method. So my circle creates a new circle. This creates the circle object. Then we have color set to red, and then we have the radius set to pi. So this calls the inherited method from the shape, and this calls the method defined in circle. So now let's try running the program. So the shape color is red and the area is calculated and comes to 78.53. Multi-level inheritance. What is multi-level inheritance? In multi-level inheritance, a class inherits from another class and then a third class inherits from it. The structure is grandparent to parent to child. So each class passes down its feature to the next class, and it gets the feature from both the parent and the grandparent. Now let's talk about hierarchical inheritance. Hierarchical inheritance, we have one parent class and multiple child classes. The structure is employee, and we have developer and designer. So each class inherits common properties and methods and adds its unique features. Now let's look at an example. So here's an example where we demonstrate hierarchical inheritance using an organization's employee structure. Here we start with bare class employee that contains a shared attribute, name and a method work representing a general task all employees can perform. So from employee, we derive two specialized classes, developer, which includes a programming language attribute and a method of code specific to the developers. Then we have designer, includes a design tool attribute and a method design specific to designers. Now let's look at the code. So here we have parent class employee, which is the base class for all employees. Then we have string name, which is a common property. Then we have, so this line It will print the common behavior of all employees, that is the name and is working. So we have class developer extends employee, which is inherited from employee. Then we have string programming language, which is developer specific property. Then we have void code, and then this line prints out coding in, and we have the programming language. So here we have designer class designer extends employee, also inherits from the employee. And then string design tool, which is a designer specific property. And then we have void design print out designing using. Then we have our design tool printed. Then we have our main method. So here we have developer, which this line which will create a new developer object, and dev name is Alice, and our programming language is Java. And similarly we have a designer object created. Our name is Bob and the design tool is Figma. So let's try running this program. This is our output. Alice is working, coding in Java, and Bob is working, designated, and Bob is working, designing using Figma. Now let's talk about why Java doesn't support multiple inheritance with classes. What is multiple inheritance? Multiple inheritance means one class inherits from more than one parent or class. For example, parent A, then we have child, and then parent B. And then we have the diamond problem. This leads to something called as the diamond problem. So if both parent classes define the same method and the child inherits from both, then the compiler cannot decide which method to be used. This creates ambiguity. And to avoid this confusion, Java does not support multiple inheritance with classes, but it allows it using interfaces. Now let's summarize what we've learned. Single inheritance, one parent, one child. So the child inherits from one single parent. Multiple inheritance, the child inherits from the parent and the grandparent. Hierarchical inheritance, we have multiple children and one parent. And multiple inheritance, which is not supported with classes due to ambiguity. And that brings us to the end of the types of inheritance in Java. We explored various inheritances, so keep practicing and use these examples. Hands-on coding is the best way to learn. Keep practicing, keep coding, and I'll see you in the next video.